I'm going to run it for the joy. Does that mean I don't intend to be competitive? That's part of my joy.
Last summer, DeeDee Jonrowe lost her home in a wildfire and then her mother to cancer. But this Iditarod legend rises above the hardships, and she's not alone.
I celebrate Tyler's life. I try to have a positive outlook on that, but he wasn't supposed to die before me.
Jan Steves was mourning the death of her son the day the Sockeye fire destroyed her home. But dropping out of the Iditarod is not an option. Coming up on Frontiers, the reason why she's determined to take her team all the way to Nome. And honoring a legacy, how the old Iditarod gang pays tribute to the last great race.
Sponsorship for Frontiers with Rhonda McBride is provided by Kupik Corporation and Spinard Builders Supply. Alaska, where there are old triumphs, but also new frontiers, with challenges as great as the state itself, but a belief the best is yet to come, bringing you the faces, the places, and the spirit of the last frontier. This is Frontiers with Rhonda McBride.
Welcome to our program. The Iditarod remains one of the biggest frontiers in Alaska, and for some mushers in Willow, there's been a race just to get to the start line. Mushers like DeeDee Jonrowe, who lost almost everything in last summer's Sockeye fire.
Come on, Jarvie.
She's back in the game with all her heart.
I'm going to go out there and I'm going to hug every checker I come to, and I'm going to let people know I appreciate them.
A lot to appreciate here. When you consider Mike and DeeDee Jonrowe have rebuilt their home and much of their mushing operation in less than 9 months. What's the takeaway from all of this?
God is good. Same as I told you the first time you asked me.
What do you take away from all of this?
Yeah, God is good. Hey, no loss of life.
Still, the losses seemed almost insurmountable.
That was our famous roadhouse. We built that.
While Mike put out hotspots,
You know, we had puppies to grab and everything. And
DeeDee camped out at Martin Boozer's home, focused on taking care of her team, despite the reporters who tried to keep up with her.
I kept the most important thing, which was the heartbeats here, you know.
I call it playing God. We could only move 20 at a time.
The dogs, DeeDee's top priority then
Yay for you, my love.
and now.
Yay for you. I love my dog so much that I let everything I owned be destroyed for the love of the dogs. I am going to, by golly, enjoy them.
But be forewarned,
I'm going to run it for the joy. Does that mean I don't intend to be competitive? That's part of my joy.
if rebuilding her team and her life wasn't enough,
I think this is the nicest thing.
DeeDee is still healing from the loss of her mother, who died from breast cancer not long after the fire. It wasn't all too long ago that DeeDee herself battled breast cancer. Yet her mother encouraged her to follow her Iditarod dreams, and again after the fire.
So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worst that you must not quit.
After her death, DeeDee found this poem among her mother's papers.
The rocking chairs, the antique furniture, all of it's Mom's.
Her new home is furnished with her mother's belongings, a comfort, along with this view from the window of renewal and transformation, accomplished by incredibly hard work.
They're not really girly hands. I don't think anybody will say, oh, could you please hand model for me?
Do you think that the fact that you've had this really strong work ethic, has it helped you come this far on your new journey?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. But, you know, where did that work ethic come from? You know, you aren't really just born with a work ethic. It came from my mom and my dad.
And the man DeeDee married, a work ethic to match.
He is extraordinary.
Well, fire does a lot of interesting things.
Mike says the fire has renewed his faith in the goodness of people.
We live in an imperfect world, but through it all, you know, your faith can sustain you if you just trust.
Mike just had wrist surgery from the wear and tear during the rebuild process, which also blew out his knee.
I mean, there's no alternative. You can't give up.
There's more weight in here than I weigh.
DeeDee is down to 105 pounds. She lost about 15 since the fire.
Say hi! Say hi! Come here, sweetie.
Here you are, finally at the starting line.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, a lot of people didn't think I would make that. And a lot of people didn't know why the heck I was even trying. But I know Mama would have wanted me to try. All right, straight ahead.
The stands of burned out spruce, a constant reminder this race is different. There's the loss of her tried and true mushing gear and equipment, decades of accumulation, and the loss of training miles on her team.
First of all, there's people that have done a lot longer runs, some of them coming off the Quest, coming off the Copper Basin.
DeeDee says you won't see her leading the pack early in the race like she often does.
I have to go into it a little slower.
5 on her team have never run the Iditarod before.
I think they're an awesome group of dogs. Obviously, I love them to pieces. I want them to enjoy it.
For DeeDee, the comeback trail has been long and hard.
Perseverance trail maybe would be the right word.
Getting to Nome just might turn out to be the easy part. The Jonrowe say they're grateful to the volunteers who donated their time and effort to help them rebuild. And from DeeDee Jonrowe to Jan Steves, up next, another story of strength from Willow. There were times when she wanted to drop out of the Iditarod after first losing her son and then her home. But Jan Steves is determined to get to the start line and even more determined to get to Nome.
We have a story of 27 families that put 18 months of their lives into building a village, a home for themselves and their future. Our Inupiaq culture goes back thousands of years, carried by a strong sense of community. Our relationship with our natural surroundings is at the heart of our culture. By investing in future generations through development that is balanced with the love of our land, the Kupi Corporation brings together traditions of the past with visions of the future.
I just want cremation.
Cremation specialist in Alaska.
Can I have a service before cremation?
Our staff is committed to serving your needs.
I just want something basic. The simpler, the better.
Specializing in simple cremations. Whatever your reasons are for choosing cremation, call Cremation Society of Alaska 277-2777 or in the Valley 373-8627 and on the web at alaskacremation.com.
We taught him how to hit a baseball, how to hit a receiver, the strike zone, the net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
CBS This Monday.
We cover computers, cars, and psychology of criminals.
I'm sure we can outsmart some thugs.
These geniuses will put the pedal.
Our friend's done pretty well in a few street races.
To the metal.
He is going to race.
I got a bad feeling about this.
If innocent people die, you're never going to see the daylight again.
Eric Roberts guest stars.
I help prevent things where people get hurt.
Brace yourself for a new Scorpion, CBS Monday, or stream it live or on demand.
There are lots of reasons mushers run the Iditarod, fame and fortune among them. But Jan Steves' reasons are entirely different. In fact, if she dropped out of the race, it'd be completely understandable. She was in Seattle when the Sockeye fire devoured her home in Willow, the second in a series of tragedies.
I don't know what to say. I've seen the pictures.
A friend documented Jan Steves' return to what was her home.
This is our house.
Bob's snow machine that he groomed all the trails.
The fire struck 9 days after the death of Jan's son Tyler. She was in Seattle at the time, dealing with his loss, when suddenly a second shock.
My cookers for Iditarod right there. I wonder if they're salvageable. Nope.
The only thing salvageable, Jan's Iditarod dreams.
Hey, babes, come here.
This will be Jan's 5th Iditarod. Out of 4 tries, her team has only made it to Nome once, but this time she's determined to cross the finish line.
I think that's been my biggest struggle is there's no organization to my life at all.
All her meticulous records about her training schedule, what she did at each checkpoint, gone with the house. Still, she says homes you can rebuild.
But losing my son, is something that will be with me forever. A loss.
A lot of people have asked her why she doesn't just withdraw from the race and run it next year.
A few nights ago, I put my son's ashes in this one, and so that's my reason for going to Nome. He wasn't supposed to die before me.
Tyler died of a heart attack. Like his mom, he was an adventurer, but his passion was for deep-sea fishing. Jan's partner, Bob Klupatch, is a sprint racer. He's glad to be working with the dogs again. A sign that life is gradually getting back to normal. Still, there are times when they are rudely reminded running dogs requires a lot of stuff.
Runner plastic, dog food medication, sleeping bags, cookers, batteries, gloves, glove liners, socks.
We lost, 5 Arctic sleeping bags. We lost the Arctic oven tent. We lost Bob's trail machine that he groomed the trail with. The list just is astronomical. This is Ursa, and she's one of my little leaders.
Jan admits the dogs are doing a lot better than she is. Maybe because they live in the moment. And the moment they have been waiting for has arrived. Jan's team moves quickly past what was once a musher's paradise. As Bob chases the team on his snow machine, you can see how the land has changed, and so have Bob and Jan.
You just never know from one day to the next the emotional feeling. But when you get out here with the dogs and you're out in the country like this and you're out in semi wilderness, so to speak, and it just takes your mind off of all of those problems. But with the dogs, it's extremely therapeutic.
Bob says the days have been so full, he's hardly had time to hug Jan, but he'd have to catch up with her first. Back at the house, the dogs let you know when Jan is about to pull up.
Whoa!
The dogs may be ready for rest, but for Jan and Bob, the work is far from over.
Good boy.
Inside, Bob's busy getting supper ready. For the dogs, that is. In this household, they eat first.
This is our kitchen, and later this summer it'll become a real kitchen.
Bob and Jan still have a long way to go with their house. They've put the finishing work on hold until after the mushing season.
So we're making foxtails for the dogs, the male dogs, to protect them from frostbite.
Good cover for those sensitive male parts. Before the fire, Jan had lots of these.
I'm borrowing a lot of equipment for Iditarod, and Vern Halter loaned me the sled bag, so I'm impersonating Luan from Brazil.
Luan Marquez may be the name on the bag, but Jan hopes to proudly take it all the way to Nome.
It's not giving up, it's going for my dream. And my son would not want me to, pull out.
As for the dogs, they sound as ready as ever to go the distance for Jan and Tyler too. Jan Steves and Bob Klupatch had a lot of help. Volunteers pitched in to help them rebuild their home. Lots of materials were donated. Jan's Facebook page has a lot of great photos showing how the community rallied. We also want to note 2 other Willow mushers who lost their homes in last summer's wildfires. They're also running the Iditarod, Mary Helwig and Scott Smith. And still ahead, a mosaic of memories in a new book, Iditarod, the First 10 Years, a huge undertaking involving and including 2 photographers who will tell us why this book has been such a passion project.
At Spinard Builder Supply, we know it takes a lot of ingredients to get it just right. That's why we have design centers in every store to personalize the most important rooms in your home. We'll help you select cabinets, faucets, and appliances that fit your style. So all you have to worry about is how much oregano goes in Mom's pasta sauce. Spinard Builder Supply. Building for life.
Now offering financing with no payments or interest for 12 months. Visit our design experts today at your local Spinard Builder Supply.
Taught him how to hit a baseball, how to hit a receiver, the strike zone, the net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
If you're a community volunteer, we need you.
It's the Alaska Mission of Mercy.
For 2 days in April, thousands of underserved Alaskans will have access to free dental care.
This is a big event.
We need hundreds of volunteers. You don't have to be a dentist to help.
I'll be helping the patients in line.
I'm helping set up the dental clinic.
I'll be there to run errands.
I'll help with the paperwork.
We're going to help thousands of Alaskans.
We need volunteers like you.
Sign up now at akmom.org.
It'll make you smile.
Every day something's different, and I get really excited to report on stories in Alaska. I cover these stories. I need to be out there. I need to be experiencing all this stuff. I need to know. And Alaska is so big that you really have to get out there, because I think it's really important to meet people and cover their communities. There's just so many stories here that I could do a story for every day for the rest of my life and still have something new to tell in Alaska.
Every year, the Iditarod legend grows. The mushers who were devastated in the Sockeye fires will only add another chapter in what's become a never-ending story. There's an ambitious new book that has attempted to take a big bite out of the race's history, the Iditarod, the First 10 Years. Now, it's written by the old Iditarod gang, and joining us now to tell us the story behind this, 2 members of the gang, Frank Flavin and Rob Stapleton, who are also 2 photographers who covered the race in its early years. So, first of all, let's talk about who the old Iditarod gang is, and how did they start this book?
Well, it was started by Gail and Walt Phillips as we need to bring all these memories together of the volunteers, but Gail...
And Gail was involved in the early organization of the race?
She was.
Yeah, from Nome.
She's also a former House Speaker in the legislature.
That's correct. They were living in Nome during the race, earlier years. Rainey Holland, John and Jonna Van Zyl, Rob Stapleton, myself, Al and Joe Crane, who was a race marshal and musher of the Iditarod, and another lady, Ann Patch.
So why did you all get together and put this book out?
Well, as I mentioned a little bit, it was about trying to collect these memories of, while still many of them are still around, and then getting stories from the volunteers, over 100 contributors, to collect this material, and before a lot of it's forgotten.
Boy, this is just a beautiful book, and you're getting a look at how it's laid out. So many photographs in them.
I was photo editor, and we started out with, as I mentioned, collected over 100 stories and photos. Started with about 2,000 photographs, and edited it down to 425, thereabouts.
I think we started out with like 1,000 pages of
content.
Yeah, we had stories from volunteers, poetry, drawings, all kinds of things that came as a result of the the three.
Yeah, the editors, the overall editors had to, you know, the book could be twice as big if we let it.
It's heavy.
7
Yeah, it's
pounds.
definitely a coffee table book, you know, for sure.
So tell us a little bit, Rob, about some of the photographs that you selected to share with us right now.
Well, most of the photographs I did were while I was working at the, initially in the 70s, working for the Anchorage Daily News as a photojournalist. And to cover the race, some might be entertained by the fact that I would take photographs all day long, and then when airplanes would head back to Anchorage, I'd give the pilots my film with the captions and some information about how to process the film. And when they came back to Anchorage, they'd call up the paper and they'd come and get the film and process it and make prints. I later ended up processing film along the trail with a transmitter, and then made prints in bathrooms, showers, radio stations.
So these are great photos.
Well, that's the 1 second finish there with Mackie. Yeah, that's
Were you glad to be there to capture these images?
Yeah, it was really, really fun to see people come out from the villages and see the mushers go through. And then
that's you.
Yeah, that was me after we got off the mountain in 1979. Yeah, that's out on the Nikolai Burn. Joe Reddington and Roan.
You must feel like you were privileged to get a front row seat on the start of this race.
Well, you know, it was really great for me because there wasn't a lot of competition at first, like there is nowadays. So it was sort of like an open arena, and my goal was to shoot the emotion and the scenery and the beauty of the dogs and the environment.
And I think it's these images in the early days that made the race what it is. It showed the world what was happening here.
Oh, truly, and I'm sure, Rob, I shot for European magazines and particularly European following, but also in television started getting coverage, and that additionally helped it go worldwide.
I was shooting every day and transmitting pictures through AP, and then you were doing magazine work, and so it was fun to catch other photographers and say, you know, hey, where did you go? And, you know, what shots did you get?
So, Frank, you selected some images to share with us. Maybe you can tell us a little bit of the backstory.
This is what was the halfway award. Lascom used to have, I think it was 5,000 silver coins that were given to the halfway, and that was Larry Cowboy Smith in that show. That's the ham radio shack up at Rainy Pass, because it was ham radio in those days.
Right.
That was the only communication.
Yeah, there was no telephone.
And there wasn't any information.
No iPhones.
No information allowed to the mushers. It was pretty quiet of who was where, and that's Rainy Pass there. Beautiful place.
Yeah.
And that's Susan Butcher on the Yukon River.
Those are almost spiritual photographs. In quality.
When it's hard to explain how you try to do it in photographs, but to be out there is just.
Yeah, it's really neat. You know, it's like you go out and you don't know from day to day. You know, I was shooting pictures and transmitting them for the Associated Press on a daily basis, and when I'd get a shot, I'd know that I had it, and it was like a magical feeling. Like I got that storytelling picture today that I wanted.
You know, and now of course people, you know, they take pictures with their iPhones, they put them on Facebook, and we can almost be armchair mushers. We can follow mushers almost in real time. They've even got, you know, sled dog cams and things like that on the trail now.
Well, the dogs are chipped too, so they know where they're at all the time. So, which is kind of interesting because that's the teachers across the country and the world. Their students follow the Iditarod race, which is another point of all these our books. The intent is to have one in every school in the state.
Well, the book is such a mosaic of stories. I mean, you've got stories from mushers, even from Troubadour Hobo Jim talking about the nightlife in Nome, and all kinds of people contributing. Why did you want it to be this way?
Because the book is dedicated to volunteers. More, you know, importantly, like the veterinarians, the Iditarod Air Force, the dog handlers, everyone in the villages, the villagers, the trail breakers. there's a lot of people involved.
Yeah, and funds from the book actually do go to some veterinarian research on for dogs on the Iditarod.
So does the book in the first 10 years, and I'll tell you, it's so big, it's going to take me time to get through it, but does it, at this point in the first 10 years, document the dramatic change that we've seen in the race, the beginnings of that?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that, you know, basically in the original 10 years, it was very little communication. A lot of things were coming by airplane, you know, 180s and whatever airplane we could find. And villagers were more prevalent along the way, giving help, you know, snow machines and sleds and staying in people's homes. And those people ended up becoming our friends because we come back year after year on the race. And it was
a real rural-urban exchange.
It was. Yeah. And it was, you know, I kind of miss it. You know, even though it was a lot of hard work and there was no sleep for, you know, 2 weeks, you know.
That's right, it's a lot longer back then.
Yeah.
It was about a month to dedicate to photographing the Iditarod.
Oh yeah, I slept in tents, snowshoed, snow machine.
Camped at 50 below.
Yeah, yeah, really. You know, using Alpine for part of the race and snow machine from Unionacleet to Nome on another part of the race, and you know. It was just an adventure. Every race was different.
Yeah, hitching a ride wherever you could.
So, and you know, the volunteers helped tell that story, and that's why we wanted their, you know, we wanted a lot of their input, and so we were able to blend it down into a, you know, into a book that at least you can carry. You know,
and you don't have to have it all in one sitting. You know, you can digest it in bits. But you know, if you wanted the book to do one thing, you know, in terms of giving people appreciation of the race, what would that be?
Well, to me, it would be the fact that, you know, this is the Alaska the way Alaska was in those days, and you know, it's changed now. It's a more modern race. You know, there's been a lot of changes, and I saw things go from being, you know, guys that were camping just to do the race and weren't really interested in winning, to people that are very highly motivated in winning the race.
Well, one of the things we want to do is we want to mention some things. There is going to be a book signing on Friday, March 4th. That's from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Iditarod Race headquarters. And you can have a photo viewing session on Saturday, March 5th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and that's at the Anchorage Lofts Hotel. So I bet you're looking forward to sharing your book after all this time.
You betcha. Share it with anyone.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing it with us.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Thanks.
Well, next week, some armchair mushing with KTVA's Dave Goldman, who will size up the competition for us before he heads out on the Iditarod Trail. Well, we want to thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.